Did you know that in the 1970s, 50% of kids rode in cars without seatbelts? It's true, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to childhood in the disco decade. From metal lunchboxes to trampoline parties without safety nets, we're about to dive into a world that would make modern parents' jaws drop. Remember when bike helmets were for wimps and seatbelts were optional? That's right, the 1970s were a different world when it came to childhood safety. Picture this: kids zooming down steep hills on their bikes, wind whipping through their hair, not a helmet in sight. It was all about the thrill of the ride and feeling invincible. Contrast that with today's scene. Modern parents hover nearby, decked out in elbow pads, knee pads, and helmets that look like they could withstand a meteor strike. Back then, skinned knees and scrapes were badges of honor. Kids would proudly show off their battle scars from epic wipeouts. "Check out this gnarly road rash" was a common playground brag. Car rides were a whole different ball game too. Seat belts? Those were more like suggestions than rules. Kids bounced around the back seat like pinballs, and long road trips often involved sprawling out in the way back of the station wagon. It's a wonder we survived it all. But here's the kicker: we did survive. And not just survive, but thrive on the freedom and independence all that risk-taking fostered. Kids roamed their neighborhoods from dawn till dusk, inventing games, solving disputes, and learning valuable life lessons along the way. No cell phones, no constant check-ins with mom and dad. Just pure, unadulterated childhood adventure. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds crazy dangerous. And you're not wrong. But here's the surprising twist. Despite all the apparent danger, childhood injury rates have actually decreased since the 1970s. How is that possible? Well, it turns out that all that risky play helped kids develop better awareness of their surroundings and improve their ability to assess danger. Don't get us wrong. We're not advocating for ditching all safety measures. Modern car seats, bike helmets, and playground designs have undoubtedly saved lives. But there's something to be said for the resilience and problem-solving skills that 1970s kids developed through their free-range childhoods. So, the next time you see a kid decked out in more protective gear than a football player just to ride a bike around the block, take a moment to reminisce about the carefree days of your youth. Maybe there's a happy medium between the Wild West of the 70s and today's bubble-wrapped approach to childhood. Hold on to your bell-bottoms, because we're about to blow your mind. Did you know that in the 1970s, kids spent a whopping 3 hours more outside each day compared to today? That's right. We're talking entire days of unsupervised, muddy, risky business. But here's the kicker. It might have actually been good for us. Picture this. It's a sunny Saturday morning in 1975. The second you finish your bowl of Sugar Smacks, you're out the door. No cell phone, no smartwatch, just the clothes on your back and a wild imagination. Mom's parting words, "Be home when the streetlights come on." That was it. Your ticket to freedom. Fast forward to today, and the contrast is stark. Modern kids are lucky if they get 30 minutes of outdoor play, and it's usually in a fenced backyard with a parent hovering nearby. What happened to the days of roaming free, building forts in the woods, and coming home covered in dirt and scratches? Back in the 70s, we invented games that would make today's parents lose sleep. Remember playing chicken on your bikes? Or how about building rickety tree houses without any adult supervision? We'd spend hours exploring storm drains, having rock fights, and daring each other to jump off ever higher objects. Sure, it was risky, but it was also a blast. So what changed? Well, the rise of stranger danger campaigns in the late 20th century played a big role. Suddenly, parents became hyper-aware of potential threats lurking around every corner. The idea of letting kids roam free became less about fostering independence and more about irresponsible parenting. But here's the thing. All that unsupervised play wasn't just fun and games. It was crucial for our development. Research shows that unstructured play fosters creativity, problem-solving skills, and social interactions. When we had to figure things out on our own, we learned valuable life lessons. No parents meant no referees. so we had to solve our own disputes and negotiate our own rules. Long-term studies suggest that kids who had more unsupervised time during their formative years tend to develop better self-regulation and resilience. We learn to assess risks, make decisions, and deal with the consequences of our actions. Sure, we got into scrapes and had our fair share of accidents, but we also gained confidence and independence. Now, we're not saying we should completely ditch modern safety concerns. There's definitely a balance to be struck, but maybe, just maybe, we've swung too far in the other direction. Perhaps it's time to loosen the reins a little and let kids experience some of that 70s-style freedom. What if I told you that in the 1970s, the average American family spent more quality time together watching TV than modern families do during all their activities combined? It's a startling contrast that reveals a hidden cost of our on-demand, personalized entertainment era. Let's rewind the clock and explore how our viewing habits have dramatically shifted the landscape of family bonding. Picture this. It's Friday night in 1975. The whole family piles into the station wagon armed with blankets, pillows, and a big bucket of popcorn. You're headed to the local drive-in theater, one of over 4,000 across the country. As you pull in, the excitement builds. Kids scramble to get the best spot in the back, while Dad fiddles with the speaker that hooks onto the car window. The massive screen flickers to life, and for the next few hours, you're all transported into another world together. Fast forward to today, and the scene couldn't be more different. Each family member is in a separate room, glued to their own device. Mom's binge-watching her favorite series on the living room TV, Dad's catching up on sports highlights on his tablet, and the kids are watching YouTube videos on their phones. Family movie night, that's become as rare as a working 8-track player. The social aspect of shared movie experiences has taken a serious hit. Remember how we used to gather around the TV at the same time every week for our favorite shows? It was an event. We'd laugh together, gasp at plot twists, and debate what might happen next during commercial breaks. Now, with streaming services and on-demand viewing, that communal experience is fading away. We're watching more content than ever, but we're doing it alone. Technology has reshaped family bonding time in ways we never expected. Back in the 70s, we had limited options, which actually brought us closer together. We'd play board games, work on puzzles, or simply sit and talk during commercials. Today, even when families are in the same room, they're often lost in their own digital worlds. But here's the kicker. All that 70s-style family time might have been more valuable than we realized. Studies show that increased screen time in modern households can negatively affect family dynamics, leading to less face-to-face interaction and diminished quality time. Research indicates that families today spend less time engaging in shared activities, which can lead to feelings of isolation. So, what's the takeaway? While we wouldn't trade our Netflix accounts for rabbit ear antennas, maybe there's something to be said for the simplicity of 70s entertainment. The social benefits of shared experiences like watching a movie together at the drive-in or gathering for the latest episode of Happy Days fostered stronger family bonds and communication. As we wrap up our trip down memory lane, it's worth considering how we can bring back some of that 70s magic. Maybe it's time to dust off those board games, plan a retro movie night, or even seek out one of the 300 remaining drive-in theaters for a blast from the past. After all, in our quest for convenience and personalized entertainment, we might have accidentally erased a crucial element of family life. Imagine a world where you couldn't instantly check if someone had read your message. In the 1970s, communication was an art form that required patience, creativity, and sometimes a pocketful of quarters. How did people manage to stay connected when every conversation was an event? Back then, receiving a letter in the mail was a thrill like no other. You'd rush to the mailbox, heart pounding, hoping to see your name scrawled across an envelope. Opening it felt like unwrapping a gift. Inside, you'd find pages filled with handwritten thoughts, jokes, and stories from a faraway friend or relative. It was a tangible piece of someone's time and effort, meant just for you. Now, contrast that with today's instant messaging. We fire off texts and emails without a second thought, often expecting immediate responses. While it's undeniably convenient, have we lost something in the process? The anticipation, the thoughtfulness, the personal touch that came with those handwritten letters seems to have faded away. Remember the days of phone pranks? With no caller ID to spoil the fun, kids would spend hours dialing random numbers, asking if people's refrigerators were running, or pretending to be radio DJs giving away prizes. And let's not forget party lines, shared phone lines where you might pick up the receiver only to hear your neighbors gossiping. It was a far cry from the private, one-on-one communication we're used to now. Payphones were once a lifeline, dotting every street corner and shopping mall. They shaped our social interactions in unique ways. You had to plan meetups in advance, show up on time, and hope your friends did too. If plans changed, you'd better have a quarter ready to call and let everyone know. It fostered a sense of responsibility and punctuality that seems almost quaint in our age of last-minute cancellations via text. How did we manage without being constantly connected? Well, we just did. We made plans and stuck to them. We memorized important phone numbers. We wrote letters to stay in touch with distant friends. And you know what? It worked. We weren't less social or less connected. Our connections were just different. There's something to be said for the impact of slower, more deliberate communication. When you had to put pen to paper or wait for a long-distance call, you really thought about what you wanted to say. Every word carried more weight. Conversations, whether by letter or landline, tended to be more meaningful and focused. As we look back on these old-fashioned ways of staying in touch, it's worth asking, what have we gained? And what have we lost in our rush to always be connected? Maybe it's time to bring back a little of that 70s communication magic, to slow down, write a letter, or have a long, uninterrupted phone call with an old friend. After all, some things are worth waiting for.